Okay. The fifth week of the 2020 Stanley Cup playoffs is now over. The second round of the playoffs is over, and it's been another exciting week. Now, there has not been a dull week of these playoffs, and this is a little heartbreaking of a week for me as a Canucks fan, and for some other series that won 7 games. 3 of these series went 7 games. A very interesting series for some of these teams. So, gotta say, this was a big week, and 4 more teams have been eliminated. And later on today, the conference finals are going to start. This kind of tight schedule is a little bit interesting, but I think it's just being considerate of the players being in this bubble. They want to go home as soon as possible, but win the Stanley Cup. It's good that their motivation is still there. So before we get started with our recaps of the 4 series, let's go over some news of the week. There's a trade between St. Louis and Montreal. We're including goaltender Jake Allen, which is a little shocking because he had a pretty good season this year. So, St. Louis trades Jake Allen to Montreal, who was 12-6-3 in the season, 2-1-1 in the playoffs in the 7th round in 2022. To Montreal in exchange for a 3rd and 7th round pick in 2020. I know Jake Allen has been on the chopping block for a lot of Blues fans, and I think this is inevitable, because I think they were just debating either to keep Binnington or Allen, and I think Binnington keeping him is a better idea. Despite him struggling in the playoffs, he did lead you to a Stanley Cup in the previous year, and there's no reason to just trade him after that kind of performance. So we'll see what happens with this trade. So it's a very interesting trade. We also have a suspension that will affect the next round. Vegas Golden Knights forward Ryan Reaves has been suspended for 1 game for a hit on a Canucks forward Tyler Mott. He was assessed to game misconduct on the play and had a hearing on Saturday, with the verdict being made on Saturday afternoon. He will miss Game 1 of the Vegas and Dallas series. For Ryan Reaves, this is very unfortunate, and it's somewhat of a loss on the Golden Knights, as Ryan Reaves is an anchor of their physicality. Now, I know a lot of you guys have wanted a longer suspension, and some people didn't think he should have been suspended at all, and in my opinion, I'll say that this suspension didn't shock me. I know in the season this would probably maybe be 2 or 3 games, maybe even, but because this is the playoffs in this important spot, I think that's why they only suspended him 1 game. This, I don't think, was an intentional hit at all. It was Ryan Reaves basically gliding into Tyler Mott, as you saw in the game. I'm not going to provide any of the footage because of copyright reasons, but that's what happened. Ryan Reaves glid into Tyler Mott and got a shoulder check on Tyler Mott's head. A big issue here is that Tyler Mott was bended down, as you see in the picture here. And Tyler Mott's a shorter guy, and that's why he would take a big hit here. And I think that's a big reason of the suspension. So keep that in mind. Now, Tyler Mott did end up returning to the game, which was good. He wasn't injured on the game, so props to Tyler Mott. Good, and I'm very thankful that this didn't result in a bad injury. So here were my predictions for round 2. I got 2 out of 4 right. Again, I'm only accounting for the winning team, but not the amount of games played. So New York won over Philadelphia, so that's wrong. Tampa Bay did win over Boston, Vegas did win over Vancouver, and Dallas went over Colorado. So I'm 2 for 4 this round. I am now 9 for 20 on which team won the matchup. I'm not really good at predicting, but this has been unpredictable at times. So, Philadelphia and New York Islanders. So this series went 4-3 for the Islanders, another 7-game series. Their first of many in this round. Power play for Philadelphia, 7.7%. That's a big reason why the Flyers weren't able to win the series. The Islanders, 17%. Penalty kill for Philadelphia, 80.8%. New York Islanders, 82.2%. Top 3 point getters for Philadelphia. Kevin Hayes, 13 points. Scott Laughton, 9 points. Voracek, 9 points. For the Islanders, Josh Bailey, 17 points. Brock Nelson with 15. And Matt Barzal with 13. Goaltenders, Carter Hart, what a run he has had. 9-5, 2.23 goals average, and a 926 save percentage. A shame that Carter Hart's season ends here, as he's had a great season and a great playoff. On the Islanders' end, Semyon Varlamov, 9-4, 2.00 goals against average, 921 save percentage. He's been solid, but he has lost a couple games here. But Thomas Greiss, 2-1, 1.08, 960 save percentage. We expect him to start game 1 against Tampa, but we'll see. So this is definitely one series I didn't watch very much, so that's why I don't have many notes here. So in game 1 it was 4-0 for the Islanders. Varlamov with a 29 save shutout. That was back-to-back shutouts at the time. Game 2, 4-3 Philadelphia in overtime. Varlamov was pulled after allowing 3 goals on 10 shots. The Islanders came back from 3-0 down, and Philadelphia, I believe, failed in an offside challenge. Game 3, 3-1 for the Islanders. It was postponed for 2 days until August 29th because of the social injustice movement stuff. And Philadelphia scored the opening goal. In Game 4, 3-2 for the Islanders with back-to-back. That's why Brian Elliott and Thomas Greiss started. Game 5, 4-3 for the Philadelphia in overtime. New York Islanders scored 2 goals in minute 33. In the final 4 minutes of the third, Barzal was hurt late and Couturier was hurt. Couturier would end up missing Game 6. Barzal would continue playing. 5-4 for Philadelphia in Game 6 in double overtime. Lindblom was in. What a great inspiration. Coming back from cancer. Props to him. Great job. What an inspiration for Oscar Lindblom. Couturier was injured and was out, and shots were 53-31 for New York Islanders, but Philadelphia came out with the win. In Game 7, 4-0 for the Islanders. Couturier was back in. Thomas Greiss started. 16 save shutout for him. The Islanders move on to the third round for the first time since 1993. The Islanders, I think they were the better team through most of this series. Now Philadelphia won all 3 games in overtime, but it's mostly because the Islanders came back and tied it late. So that says something right there. Unfortunately, the Islanders lost those overtime games. They would have ended the series much quicker if they didn't. But if they actually won those overtime games. But it is what it is. Philadelphia. Power play definitely hurt them. Carter Hart was pretty good throughout the series. Again, so no blame on him. Varlamov did kind of drop the ball in some of these games, but the Islanders come out with the win. Thomas Greiss, a big factor in that. Great job for the Thomas Greiss. And the Islanders have a chance in the third round to make the Stanley Cup Finals. First time since 1984 if they can make the finals. But they do have to work cut out for them against Tampa, that's for sure. Alright, let's move on to the next series. So the hockey world definitely thanks Tampa Bay for eliminating Boston. For Boston fans, It's unfortunate. But then it could be the end of an era for Bergeron, Marchand. They're 35, 34 years old. Might be an end of an era. We'll see next year what happens. As a Canucks fan, thank you so much. And the Canucks have made it farther than the Boston Bruins this year. How proud am I about that? Doesn't mean they'll beat Vegas, but I don't know. Again, this is my first recording of this recap, so I don't know how the other 3 series went. So keep that in mind as I go through this. So here, Tampa and Boston, 4-1 for Tampa Bay was the series. Power play for Tampa, 17.1%, Boston 22.2%. Penalty kill for Tampa, 81.3%, Boston 82.9%. Top 3-point getters for Tampa Bay, Braden Point, 18 points. Kucherov, 16 points. And Hedman and Palat each have 9 points. For Boston, Brad Marchand, 12 points, David Krejci, 12 points, and David Pastrnak, 10 points. Goaltenders, Vasilevsky, 10-3, 1.91 goals against average, and .931 save percentage. Highest win total in the playoffs and of all the teams. So great on him. He's been doing great. Tuukka Rask opted out of the playoffs, so we won't be talking about him here. Again, if you still doubt that Rask was basically chickened out in the playoffs, just please be a little bit more considerate, as his daughter had a medical health emergency. So think what you want to think, but I hope that you give him some respect and don't just spread hate about him. He wasn't the reason why the Bruins lost, in my opinion. Maybe a little bit of a reason, but Jaro Halak was not bad throughout the series. So Jaro Halak was 4-5, 2.76 goals against average, .902 save percentage. The numbers show that he wasn't very, very good, but he got the job done. But Boston just didn't rally behind him. In Game 1, 3-2 for Boston, Pastrnak was in after an injury, and Hedman with 2 goals in the third period, but Boston hung on. Those 2 goals may have been a little bit more of a momentum switch. Gave Tampa a little bit of confidence. In Game 2, 4-3 for Tampa in overtime. Marchand and Coleman with 2 goals each. Offside challenge for Tampa Bay, 1-1 goal. In Game 3, 7-1 for Tampa Bay. I think that's where we started to realize how deep of a hole Boston was digging themselves into. This was a back-to-back game. Boston had the most goals allowed in the playoffs since 1992. Halak was pulled and later came in as the backup. Game 4, 3-1 Tampa was postponed one day until the 29th of August. And Richie with a 5-minute major hit for the hit on Yanni Gourde. He would not be in for Game 5. So in Game 5, 3-2 for Tampa in double overtime. Kucherov was injured from a high stick from Zdeno Chara. We'll wait on how he is for the next round. I believe Stamkos and Kucherov are both pretty confident, like maybe coming in. Stamkos more of a maybe, Kucherov probably coming back in. McAvoy the hit on Paquette, no call. And Victor Hedman with the overtime winner in double overtime. Victor Hedman has been very solid for Tampa Bay. After coming back from injury, Tampa Bay really started to play like their potential. Playing to their potential, a big thing for Tampa Bay. I know people are going to be nervous in the conference finals because of Tampa Bay's reputation in the playoffs, and they'll have their work cut out for them. Tampa Bay, they'll face either the Islanders or the Flyers in the conference finals. I don't know who that is going to be as of me recording right now. I will be going over the matchups for next round in the last slide, so don't worry about that. I will get this. Is just more of a compilation. I don't record this entire thing on one day. So Tampa Bay, excellent play by them, shutting the Bruins down. only allowing 7 goals in those last 4 games. That's a big thing. Vasilevsky, one part of that, but especially in Game 5, Vasilevsky was really good, but the other, I think Boston was just stifled by the Tampa defense. I think it's once again more of a reliance on the top line and a little bit of a lack of depth scoring, but the Bruins did decently in Game 5. Couldn't win the game, unfortunately, for them. Tampa Bay, nothing to take away from Tampa Bay. Tampa Bay was excellent in this series. Things that they need to improve on are definitely their power play and penalty kill. They need to step that up a little bit, but they have done well. So we'll see what happens next round, and let's move on to the Western Conference now for the next series. Vegas, Vancouver. Now this series went 4-3 to Vegas. And I'm going to talk well here because I'm a big Canucks fan and I feel obligated to talk for quite a while on this one. So let's start with the numbers and then I'll go over my thoughts as a Canucks fan. So power play, Vegas 20.5%, Vancouver 20.3%, penalty kill, Vegas 87.8%, Vancouver 80%. Top 3 point getters for Vegas, Theodore 16 points, Mark Stone with 15 points, and Riley Smith with 13. For Vancouver, Elias Pettersson with 18 points, JT Miller with 18 points, Quinn Hughes with 16 points, and Bo Horvat had 10 goals. That was the most in the NHL after round 2. Goaltenders, Marc-Andre Fleury 3-0, 2.67 goals in the staggered, 893 save percentage, and Robin Leonard 8-4, 1.99, 918 save percentage. He had 3 shutouts in the series. Let me fix that real quick. It's supposed to be 3 shutouts. Alright, there you go. 3 shutouts. All the wins against Vancouver in his career are shutouts. Or the 5 career wins against Vancouver are shutouts. That's just the thing. I don't know why. Jacob Markstrom, 8-6, 2.85 goals against average, 919 save percentage. He's faced 30 plus shots in all his games. My goodness. He did get injured after Game 4, and Thatcher Demko played Game 5, 6, and 7. He had a 0.65 goals against average and a 985 save percentage. We'll talk about Thatcher Demko in a moment for all you Canucks fans out there. So in Game 1, 5-0 for Vegas. Markstrom was pulled in the 3rd period. Thatcher Demko got his first 8 minutes and 26 seconds. Vegas just comes in waves. Roussel with a 10-minute misconduct for hugging. Some weird grabbing motion that just got him a 10-minute misconduct. He would end up being another one in Game 3. It was very interesting. In Game 2, 5-2 Vancouver, a big response. Tyler Toffoli, back from injury, he got 3 points. 40-27 were the shots for Vegas. Team record for Vancouver with 40 shot blocks. Roussel was limited to 6:32 ice time. And that's big because the Canucks were playing this physical game that was not their brand. That was a big reason why they had some bad fate in the series. In Game 3, 3-0 for Vegas. Second time Vegas allowed 30 plus shots in the postseason. Leonard with a 32 save shutout. This game was postponed for 2 days until August 29th because of the movement and the social injustice around the world. In Game 4, 5-3 for Vegas, 3 goals in 3rd for a Vegas comeback. Holden was out. This was a back-to-back game. Marc-Andre Fleury started and Tyler Myers came back from injury. So in Game 5, 2-1 for Vancouver. Thatcher Demko started as Markstrom was having a groin problem and a little injury there. White Cloud was hurt by a return. Shots were 43-17 for Vegas. Thatcher Demko with 42 saves. Besser and Pettersson with the goals. Demko winning as rookie in his debut in an elimination game, the first since Jose Theodore in 1997. In Game 6, 4-0 for Vancouver. Thatcher Demko starts. He got a 48 save shutout. Vancouver went 19 minutes and 23 seconds between shots 8 and 9 in the first and second period. For 10, it was hurt late. There were shots that were 48 to 23 for Vegas. 0 for 5 Vegas in the power play. 0 for 4 Vancouver in the power play. No power play goals scored. Thatcher Demko was the first rookie goaltender to win 2 elimination games as his first 2 wins in the playoffs since Jacques Plante in 1953. That is amazing. Most saves by a rookie in a playoff shutout, and that's the most saves overall in a playoff shutout that was not in overtime. In Game 7, 3-0 for Vegas in a back-to-back situation. Thatcher Demko started. 2 shots for Vancouver in the first period, tied a team low. Ryan Reaves in a major in a game misconduct for the hit on Tyler Mott. He was later suspended 1 game. I talked about that earlier in the video. 14 shots for Vancouver. That is terrible. Now, let me go over my thoughts on this series. Props to Thatcher Demko. He stopped 123 out of 125 shots in his final 3 games with a 0.65 goals against average and a 985 save percentage. The Canucks were outplayed this entire series, and the reason why they got to a Game 7 and had that opportunity to move on and face Dallas was because of Thatcher Demko. Even in Game 7, the Canucks had that opportunity, but Thatcher Demko held them in it for a bulk of the game. But nonetheless, I'm very proud of this Canucks team, hanging in there, taking shot blocks, taking hits. A great future ahead of them, those young guns. That's for sure. I've enjoyed watching this team. They were able to knock off the Wild and the Blues. Great job by them. They got way farther in this series and in the entire playoffs as most people expected them to go against the St. Louis Blues and get eliminated. But what a series by Vancouver, making it good. They've gained some valuable experience for the future, that's for sure. Let's just hope that their cap problems will get resolved here, as they need to sign Toffoli, Tanev, and Markstrom in the offseason. And then they're going to have to re-sign Pettersson and Hughes next year. So it's going to be a tough go for the Canucks. I'm very proud of them. By the way, Peter DeBoer is now 5-0 in Game 7s. It's another little stat for you guys. Well, as a Canucks fan, that's it for our season. And thank you to all the fans and all you people out there. It's been a great couple of weeks with you guys. Let's move on to the next series now. Alright, Colorado and Dallas. Another 7-game series. It's been a very long round, that's for sure. This was I think the most interesting and entertaining series of this entire playoff run, and this series went 4-3 to Dallas. I feel for Nathan MacKinnon with you at 25 points, most in the NHL. Feel bad for him, man. Feel bad. Power play for Colorado, 22.1%. Dallas, 28.3%. That really improved throughout these playoffs. Penalty kill for Colorado, 75%. Dallas, 82.3%. Top 3-point getters for Colorado, MacKinnon with 25 points. Mikko Rantanen with 21. Nazem Kadri with 18. Great offensive production from the Colorado Avalanche. Ultimately, they do fall to the Stars, however. Top 3-point getters for the Stars, Miro Heiskanen, 21 points. Dennis Gurianov with 15 points, and Jamie Benn with 13 points. Sagan and Radulov, those guys did very well as well. Goaltenders, Philip Grubauer. I know a lot of you guys might be blaming this loss because Grubauer got injured, and possibly. But I think Michael Hutchinson, Pavel Francouz did a decent job as backup, especially Michael Hutchinson. We'll talk about that later. Ben Bishop on the Dallas side, 1 and 2, 5.43844 save percentage, and Anton Khudobin, 8 and 5, 2.96 goals against average, and 909 save percentage. It's been tough for the goaltenders for Dallas, but they've hung in there. In Game 1, 5-3 for Dallas. It was 11 games since Dallas scored first. Erik Johnson got injured and Grubauer got injured. They were injured for the entire series, and that showed how tough those injuries were. The goals were only from the first line for Colorado. In Game 2, it was 5-2 for Dallas. It was Erik Johnson that was continuing to be out. Pavel Francouz started. Dallas was 4 straight goals in the second, and an interesting 4-2 goal. Melissa Lindell jamming it in. Past the goal line, they had a review on that. And again, goals only from the first line on the power play for Colorado. In Game 3, 6-4 for Colorado. First goals were scored by the non-first line member of Colorado. Dallas was down 3-1, and then got up, and then they led 4-3. Colorado with 2 more goals to take the lead again, 5-4, and then they would ultimately get an empty netter to make it 6-4. In Game 4, 5-4 for Dallas. It was postponed 2 days until August 30th. 2 penalties and 1 against Dallas near the end of the second, and Colorado did not score in that 5-on-3. Tough. Pavel Francouz was pulled after allowing 5 goals on 26 shots. Michael Hutchinson was in, and Cale Makar. His misplay was the game winner. Cale Makar, I know he's been a great defenseman. That was a bad misplay that ultimately cost them the game. Game 5, 6-3 for Colorado. Hutchinson starts as Francouz was apparently hurt. First career playoff win for Michael Hutchinson. Miska was the backup. Bishop started for Dallas but was pulled after allowing 4 goals and 18 shots. Winky face there, he was unfit for play, and he really was. Colorado with 4 goals in 2 minutes 36 seconds. It was 5-0 after the first period. Shots were 23-4 on shots in the first for Colorado. However, Colorado was 0 for 6 on the power play. Shots attempts in the third was 39-4 for Dallas, which was an interesting momentum swing there. In Game 6, 4-1 for Colorado. Hutchinson started. Johnson was still out, and Landeskog, Colorado captain, got hurt. Big thing here. And in Game 7, 5-4 for Dallas in overtime. Michael Hutchinson starts for a 3rd straight game, just like Thatcher Demko. Very similar story there. Landeskog was out, which was very unfortunate. Goals traded in 10 seconds at 16:20 and 16:30 in the third. They forced overtime. The Avalanche were leading 4-3. 10 seconds later, 4-4. Kiviranta with a hat-trick, including the overtime winner. And that's the first hat-trick in a Game 7 since Wayne Gretzky in 1993. Kiviranta, a guy who's not even supposed to be in the Dallas lineup, is the hero. So will he be in for the next round? Maybe. This was a series of lots of lead changes and very momentum-based and very offensive. Props to the Avalanche for not giving up, making it a 7-game series, but ultimately the Stars did have that good play. It's pretty consistent, except for in Game 5, but Dallas hung in there, didn't give up, didn't lose confidence. I rued the Stars for starting Ben Bishop in Game 5. I got kind of mad, but luckily this doesn't cost them, and they will face the Vegas Golden Knights in the next round. So, very interesting series here. We'll see what happens next for the Stars. So let's talk about the injuries this round. So for Philadelphia and New York, Oscar Lindblom, I'm going to talk about him in a second. He returned after being diagnosed with cancer 10 months prior to this. He returned in Game 6 in the series. Tampa Bay and Boston, Stamkos is still injured for Tampa Bay. On the western side of things, Vegas and Vancouver, mostly it's Vancouver injuries, Toffoli and Myers. And then Dallas and Colorado. Bishop, Ben Bishop returned in Game 5, but he was pulled, so I don't know the status on him. I assume he'll be in the lineup. For Colorado, Erik Johnson, Grubauer, and Calvert were all injured. early in the series, and Landeskog was injured late in the series, so I didn't update that just yet. Big reason why the Colorado Avalanche lost was because definitely of their injuries, and I feel bad for them. So the upcoming conference final matchups are Tampa Bay Lightning and the New York Islanders, and the Vegas Golden Knights against the Dallas Stars. Some takeaways from this second round is Oscar Lindblom, one inspiration. He came back from cancer after being diagnosed 10 months prior, and I gotta say, that's a big inspiration for the Hockey Fights Cancer movement. Big inspiration for all cancer patients. And I applaud him for what a speedy recovery, and great for his family. So all conference finals matchups will be in Edmonton, which is the West Bubble. So Toronto will no longer be playing playoff games for now. Once again, very proud of the Vancouver Canucks as a Vancouver fan. Makes Canada proud as the final Canadian team eliminated. Great job by them. They have a bright future. Ryan Reaves was suspended 1 game for illegal check to head on Canucks Tyler Lamont. I talked about that earlier in the video if you want to check that out. I do have a separate video, and I have a little 2-minute clip in this video, so interesting stuff there. So here are my Stanley Cup Conference final predictions. I have Tampa Bay over New York in 7 games, and Vegas Golden Knights over the Dallas Stars in 6 games. So far, I am 9 for 20 on predictions. We'll see what happens in the next round. And with that, we'll see you next week on September 13th. We have 4 teams left. We'll do a little midway check-in next week on how these 2 teams are doing. It's going to be a shorter recap, obviously, because we only have 2 matchups. All the 2 previews have been released at this point. So, we'll see you guys. Thank you guys for watching. Smash that like button if you enjoyed it. And as always, it is time for us to go. See you guys. Enjoy the hockey coming up. Have a great rest of your day. Take care. And see you next week.